144 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty last year, and more than 30 have died in 2019. As we honor these brave men and women at our nation's capital, please remember our local first responders.
May is Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, and we'll share a woman's story of survival and how safety gear made the difference between life and death.
I'm Tracy Minarchuk.
And I'm Kurt Friesen. We're adding a bit of culture to the show and coming to you from the Hannaful Performing Arts Center, home of the Lakeshore Players in White Bear Lake.
And who says we need culture? I'm very cultured.
Have you performed in a theater? Any theater?
No.
Yeah. I can't say I have either. So.
Okay, so maybe we're not so cultured.
We'll try.
We're very serious.
Professional, I like to say.
Oh, sorry, professional. We'll be talking with the executive director in a few minutes, but first, 58 motorcycle riders were killed in Minnesota in 2018. With more riders gearing up to take advantage of drier roads, we all need to start seeing motorcycles.
An avid rider with decades of experience nearly lost her life in a matter of seconds. She shares her story with us and credits wearing safety gear with her survival.
My first ride was when I was 2. I think we went maybe 5 miles an hour and went around the block and hooked. That was it. I was hooked first ride.
Jerry Kate grew up on dirt bikes and motorcycles and says there's a freedom in riding unlike any other. But ironically, it was a motorcycle accident in June of 2018 that left her disabled.
I don't remember the wreck itself. I remember the last 4 times that I rolled on the pavement. But the actual wreck itself, I still don't remember.
It was a Friday afternoon on I-35W in Bloomington. Jerry, riding her bike, was following her fiancé and his son in their car, headed home to Egan from Edina.
I said, Dad, I think Jerry wrecked because we heard that big bang. No, she's too good of a rider for that. And I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. I think she might have wrecked or something might have hit her.
After rolling 8 times, the first drivers to stop and help were first responders in training. Diligent about wearing safety gear, Jerry wore a helmet and a $35 leather jacket, saving her head and her right arm.
My helmet has got chips and dings all over the place. That should have been my skull, would have been my skull without the helmet. And I'm hard-headed. I don't think I'm quite that hard-headed.
Although she didn't sustain any head injuries, she broke her wrist in 3 places, 3 of her toes, and her arm was broken so badly, it took doctors nearly 10 hours to save it.
Just the level of disability that I had to go through is what hit me harder than anything else. The amount and type of things that all of a sudden I couldn't do for myself. It took me 2 months to brush my own hair.
Constant pain is Jerry's new normal, but she's grateful to be alive, becoming a kind of unofficial spokesperson for safety, unapologetic for her candor.
And at the end of the day, you need to go home. Someone's waiting. Gotta go home. If you don't do it for yourself, you have to stop being selfish, and you have to do it for the people you love.
Matt, Jerry's fiancé, has helped her through the recovery process, and the two have grown closer through the ups and downs. They'll marry this fall, the accident behind them, in anticipation of the future ahead.
There's going to be feelings, but there's going to be emotions, but it's not going to be everything around this motorcycle accident. No, absolutely not.
Jerry says she's watched the video hundreds of times, realizing how lucky she is, but determined she'll ride again, safely and smartly, so she always makes it back home.
Home was always a place to store my stuff. now home is my sanctuary. That's where I go to be with the people I love.
The Minnesota Office of Traffic Safety offers safety courses to the public. Here's their website for more information.
As we mentioned, we're here in the amazing Hannaful Theater, and Executive Director of the Lakeshore Players, Rob Thomas, joins us. Rob, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Could you tell us about when you had your first call to the theater?
Well, I've been going to theater pretty much all my life. My grandmother was a fan of theater, so she started bringing me when I was, 6 or 7 years old, too young to go to some of the shows, but I liked it so much early on that she just, every time there was something, an opportunity to attend, she would bring me. And then I started getting involved in it in school, and sort of stopped doing it when I started college, and then got back into it, and now decided to obviously make a career of it.
And so what other places have you been to, and how did you land here in White Bear?
Well, I grew up in Bemidji, Minnesota, and I went to college up there, but my first job out of college was actually in Florida, so I spent several years down there. I've worked in Chicago. I actually worked at the Shakespeare Festival down in Winona, Minnesota for 4 seasons down there as well. But I came here directly from Chicago, so that's where I was last. And I'm a Minnesota boy at heart, and I wanted to come home. So,
Nice. Where does the name Hannaful come from?
The Hannaful Family Foundation was a big supporter of our capital campaign project to build this new building. So they made a substantial contribution and were able to obtain the naming rights to the building.
And now this is a beautiful building, but I've been in the old building. Were you in the old building?
I was. I started off in the old building. In fact, there's a funny story. When they first interviewed me for the job, the interviews were not at the building. So we met at Grandma's one day, and we met at Manitou Grill one day. And then they finally brought me in, and I said, oh, this is probably why they didn't want to start off the relationship with that. But yes, I did work in the old building for a little while in a smaller part of a costume storage area.
Oh.
But yes.
And now I think you probably have an office here.
Now I have an office, yes.
And what does this space mean to the theater and to you folks?
Well, for people who've been in the old facility, we had a huge problem with accessibility. There were a lot of steps going up and going down. You couldn't get anywhere without taking steps to the bathrooms downstairs, of which there were only 2 very small ones. And this new facility was designed with accessibility in mind. So we have ramps everywhere. You can get everywhere in this whole building except for the back half of the audience without taking a single step up or down. So you can get onto the stage, you can get into the dressing rooms, you can get into the rehearsal rooms, the conference rooms, without taking a single step. And we've seen a lot of our audience members who could no longer attend the old facility coming back, and they're very grateful, and we're grateful to have them back.
And it's nice, the aisles are wide, the seats are wider.
Yes. So the seats are a funny story, because when you ask somebody how they felt about a show they saw, a lot of times the first thing they say is, well, the seats were really uncomfortable, and we did not want people to walk away thinking that. So we actually increased the cushion size. We went with the ergonomic backs. We put more space in between the seat in front of you so that people are actually comfortable. So we don't want them walking away saying they were uncomfortable. We want them walking away saying, wow, what a great show that was.
And you can tell when you're walking around, it just looks a little bit nicer in here.
It is.
And now you do more than just performing here. What other things?
Yeah, so we have our shows that we do on the main stage. In this new facility, we've been able to start a new Kids and Family series. So shows specifically for kids and families. And we also have many education programs. So after school classes for kids and adults. We do a lot of summer camps. So we run through May with their shows in the theater, and then we just hand the theater over to the kids essentially for the next several months. And then we do some outreach programs. We have a great program that's been going on for a long time called Radio Players, and they do old-time radio shows.
Fun.
And so they go into different places to perform. They perform at Market Fest sometimes. So we do quite a bit of outreach, some educational residencies with some of our local schools, and a lot of education programs in addition to what we present on stage.
Nice.
So the Lakeshore Players have a long history. Could you tell us a little bit about who they are?
Yeah, sure. So, over 65 years. We're on Monday, actually, we announced our 67th season. So they've been around a long time, and they've grown. It's been fun to hear about the history because they've grown as the community has grown. So when the community is growing and expanding and their needs are changing, Lakeshore Players was able to change with those and to be agile and accommodate those needs. And until we hit to the point where we got to the facility issue, we just couldn't accommodate our community's needs in that old facility. And that's when we decided it was time to build a little bigger.
Perfect.
And we thank you so much for being here. But before we wrap up, people can probably go online to see all of the services you provide, or if they're interested in doing something with the theater or volunteering
Yep.
or donating.
Absolutely. LakeshorePlayers.org is the website, or you can always call into the box office and they can get you to the right person.
And there's always somebody here during the day.
Yes, our box office is open weekdays from 11 to 4. So anytime in that span of time, you should be able to get a hold of someone.
Do you have any final thoughts for us?
No, thanks for letting me come here. And I hope that everybody gets a chance to come and experience this building. We're so grateful to our community because they're the ones who really actually built it. It's their stage and we're just trying to be good stewards of it. So we invite you all to come and check it out.
Yes, and thank you for letting us come inside and tape today. So
absolutely.
thank you very much. It's
My
been a
pleasure.
lot of fun.
Thanks, Rob. Coming up after the break.
A young man who set out to earn his Eagle Scout badge ends up building a potentially life-saving network.
Approximately 39 pedestrians are hit and killed every year in Minnesota, and it's important to know pedestrian safety is a two-way street. In Minnesota, drivers must stop for crossing pedestrians at marked crosswalks and at all intersections without crosswalks or stoplights. Conversely, pedestrians must obey traffic signs at all intersections that have them. It's also important for both drivers and pedestrians to pay attention to one another. White Bear Lake Police conducted a crosswalk safety initiative last summer, and 33 drivers were cited for failure to yield to a pedestrian in a marked crosswalk. We'll be conducting more enforcement campaigns this summer to educate residents on the laws and to prevent pedestrians from getting hurt or killed. Go to the state of Minnesota's website for a complete list of laws. Finally, remember to always buckle up. I'll see you next time.
Welcome back. A White Bear Lake senior in search of an Eagle Scout project wanted to make a difference.
Zach Van Dyke not only succeeded in earning his badge, but learned a lot about himself and the world along the way.
I thought as long as I'm willing to try and save lives, I will be motivated till the end.
What began as an Eagle Scout project for this tall yet somewhat timid young man ended in building a network to save lives.
Well, there it is.
But there it is, right there.
We found it.
White Bear Lake senior Zach Van Dyke wanted to do more than merely make a bench or birdhouse. He wanted to make a difference, locating AEDs or automatic external defibrillators. Using GPS, the exact location is loaded into an app called PulsePoint AED. During a cardiac event where time is often the difference between life or death, the app locates the nearest device. Health teacher Dustin Holman says he often uses Zach as a resource in class and hopes the residents take advantage of this potentially life-saving tool.
Having a kid like that you can go to as a resource and also stays on top of everything is always a plus as a teacher.
Over 8 months, Zach approached 60 businesses and now has 100 locations contained in PulsePoint. Melissa Stearns, Director of Youth and Family Ministries at St. Stephen Lutheran Church, says with an aging population, it makes sense to be part of the program.
We thought we were going to have to use it a couple weeks ago, and thank goodness we didn't, and everything turned out okay, but it was a little scary at first.
In the end, Zach, who never saw himself as a leader, succeeded not only in building the system, but building his confidence. And as he prepares to graduate and begin 19 weeks of training for the National Guard, he says he's humbled by the help and humanity he's experienced along the way.
I definitely feel that, unlike many people think, there is plenty of hope for the world. And I just hope to keep striving with all the people that I connected with to a better world.
Thanks, Zach, for all of that hard work. White Bear Lake is ahead of the game, but now which app do we need as citizens that want to help?
Right. If you're interested in signing up for the app, it's the PulsePoint Responder app that you can find on any device. And that that app will notify you of a cardiac arrest event in a public place, and then also give you the information that Zach's worked so hard to put into the system with the closest AED to assist in that event. So Zach's done a great job. He put a lot of hard work in. Because of that, White Bear Lake is leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other cities with our collection of information. So
Yep. And if you live in White Bear, you can search and find Ramsey County, but other agencies might not be in there, right?
Yep.
So search for your
city, search for your county, Ramsey County, in that app. If you have any questions, reach out to the fire department office, and we can help you through that. Have you been thinking about adding to your family?
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you how you can make a big difference while making a new friend.
White Bear Lake is fortunate to have a volunteer base willing to generously give their time to protect their community.
CERT, or Community Emergency Response Team, is trained to help in emergency situations. And member Mary Kay Subsinski is here to tell us how you can get involved. Mary Kay, thank you so much for being here.
Great, thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with CERT?
Sure. My background is I'm a registered nurse, so I've always been interested in health. I love to volunteer for many different things in the community. And when I heard about the CERT opportunity on a neighborhood app, I just thought it sounded like a lot of fun, so I signed up and I recruited my 19-year-old son to join me as well.
Oh, awesome.
He used to want to be an EMT and now he's in aviation, but it was a good fit for some of his other interests as well.
Perfect, perfect. And how long have you been doing it?
I've been a CERT member for a year now.
Okay.
Oh, wow. And what are some things that, if people are interested or thinking about it, what are some things that you get trained in as a CERT member?
The CERT program takes about 8 weeks, so we meet for about 3 hours for 8 straight weeks. We do a lot of hands-on training, but we learn about disaster preparedness, how to rescue people from fires. We learn a lot about first aid, triaging people after a disaster. We have an interesting class on disaster psychology, how to handle our own feelings as well as how to help people that are involved in a disaster situation. We've had hands-on training actually in triage where we had potential victims, all laid out in the police training area. We've done actual mock drills where we've been looking for a missing child. So lots of, again, hands-on opportunities as well as classroom time.
Have you used any of these skills in real life?
I have not been able to use them as part of being a CERT member, but last year we had 2 CERT calls. One was for a missing gentleman, and the CERT team came out and searched for him. We did not find him, but he had last been seen in that area, so it was a great effort for the CERT team to go out and look for him. There was also another call last year where there were shots fired at a local university, and the CERT team went out and found the handgun. They didn't find the suspect, but they were able to find the gun, which eventually led to the suspect and his ultimate conviction.
And I did hear about that one, and it was a good job. And sometimes people want to touch things, but you were really good about staying away from it. And I believe there was DNA on the handgun too.
Yes, that's what I have heard as well. So the CERT team, again, I think it just shows how well prepared people are, and that we know we're there to do a job. We know how to do it. We've talked a lot about communication between us, between the police or the fire, who's ever managing the situation that we're involved in. So again, all that hands-on practice really helps that once you're out in the field, you don't get nervous or forget what you're supposed to do.
And those are big events, but you do something every summer that helps us out a great deal. You're at Market Fest.
That's right.
You have 2 booths at Market Fest.
We do. We are big enough now to have 2 booths, and that's a lot of fun. We love being at Market Fest. So anybody on the CERT team can literally just show up on a Thursday night, and we use that as a community outreach for CERT, as a way to promote community relations with our police and fire departments as well, our other first responders. And of course, Market Fest is just a great event for the entire community, so we're really proud to be part of it.
Right. Any one event that's the most memorable, training, calls?
For me, the most memorable training was when we were actually learning how to conduct traffic. We had a whole traffic scenario set up at North High School on the north side of town, and I found it to be kind of disconcerting because there were cars whizzing past us, and even though I knew a lot of the drivers, I was pretty confident they weren't going to plow into me. It was still kind of daunting to be standing there and waving these people on, and I think in a real traffic situation, it gives me a better appreciation now when I am in one like that, that I am much more conscious of where the officers are and making sure I acknowledge them, and so they know that I see them, and then thanking them for conducting us safely through a stoplight being out or something like that.
So now, what would you say to some community members that are maybe thinking about it or not sure? You know, I see you guys all the time having your meetings, and you seem to get along so well, and it seems like you're having fun. What would you say to community members thinking about joining CERT?
I think everyone should just give it a try. If it sounds like they're even mildly interested, you should check it out. It is a lot of fun. The training, again, is so great, so you don't have to have any kind of a healthcare background or first responder background. We have people from ages 18 to 81 who've gone through the program. We have over 100 people that have been trained, and we're always looking for new people. You just have to be enthusiastic and appreciative of the chance to give back to the community that I think has given all of us so much. It's a great way to meet new people, which is another reason why I wanted to join the CERT team, is I wanted to just meet more people in my area. So it is a lot of fun. We do potlucks. We have several social events throughout the year, because when we get together to work on a crisis situation, you want to know who you're with, at least have facial recognition with them, and feel like you have some kind of camaraderie with them. So the social aspect of CERT really helps us come together as a team, not only during those fun times, but during the crisis times as well.
It's a great team, and we thank you very much, Mary Kay, for being here.
Great, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about CERT.
Yeah, that's great. Second Chance Animal Rescue in White Bear Lake is celebrating 25 years of placing dogs and cats in loving homes, both fosters and adoptees.
We visited with a foster mom and her foster dog, Sophie, to find out why she's still volunteering more than 40 fur friends later.
Do you know Down? Oh, I know Down, don't you? Yeah, that's a good girl.
I've always been a dog lover since I was a small child, and we've always had at least 2, sometimes 3 of our own, and then we started fostering almost 20 years ago now with Second Chance. Sophie came to us about 2 weeks ago. She was surrendered to a local animal control facility. Her owner's housing situation changed, and she no longer could have an animal. So we picked up Sophie from the veterinary clinic where she had just had been spayed and had her shots updated and a thorough exam. And she's been a really easy dog to foster. She's housebroken, she's shy with strangers, but she warms up fairly quickly. She settled in within 12 hours or so. Jerky treats and little bits of rare roast beef are very helpful, but they have a sense that they're now in a safe place and are amazingly adaptable. It's really a way to give back, to the animal community, and another option besides making financial contributions, which are very important, but there's a real need for fosters who are willing to take animals into their home, do an assessment on them, work with them if there are behavioral issues, if they aren't housebroken, to help them get housebroken. And it's just another opportunity to work with dogs and to find them great homes.
Good girl, Sophie. Good job.
If you love dogs and you haven't fostered before, it's worth a try. It's very rewarding. Is it some amount of work? Absolutely. Anytime you're bringing an animal into your home that's new to the house, you need to be watchful of it until you know its personality. But it's very rewarding, and it's a nice way to give back and to make both the animal and the potential adoptive family, very happy.
Second Chance has cats for adoption, as well as a need for cat fosters.
Go to their website where you can learn more about the organization and find pets for adoption. National Police Week takes place this month, and we leave you with a look at some of the officers who've died in the line of duty this year.
Ramsey County will honor local officers this May at the annual memorial service. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Dun, dun, dun. That's good.
Might as well start over already. I mean.
Nailed it. Just kidding. They're not laughing. They're really crabby today. It's a rough day. It's a rough crowd.
Yeah.
It's a rough crowd.
Must be
rough crowd.
Must be the cloudy weather.
See what you did there?
They're being gloomy.
So you don't want to open the door?
No, I'm not coming
Seriously,
out.
it's just a little door here. I'll do it. Here's Tracy.
Yep, there it is.